Well, I think we will start. It's lovely to see people in person. Some people I haven't seen before, but some people are regular attendees here. So thank you for coming. It's really quite a thrill to be back in action in person. And we are going to have the first slide. Good. So welcome to the 10th annual Concussion Symposium. We had our public forum last night and it was terrific. And I see Leslie Thorette, who was a star in that performance. And today is an all-day session mainly on research, but also on patient care. And just to remind you of our multidisciplinary team, these are the key personalities. I'd like to point out two new recruits, Dr. Kovacs and Dr. Rattan, who are now in the principal investigator group. Thank you to Mojgan for coordinating. And of course, UHN Foundation is very important in our survival. So Rob Henderson has taken over from Janet Turner. And we do have quite a large multidisciplinary team now. We're not all on one site. So many people at TM. This is a large list of people that now relate. A large number. Good. Thank you. I thought my voice was fading a bit. So you see the large number of people that are involved in trying to make people better after concussion. And that's really our main aim here in our center, to help people get better, but also to help prevent the next concussion. So there's always a bit of a prevention theme in the background. We strive to educate practitioners as well as patients about concussions, and we ourselves are trying to find some of the answers to the many mysteries that continue about what causes persisting symptoms and why is there cognitive decline in a small number. And we're now interested not only in sports concussions, which was the start of the concussion revolution, you might say, that has happened over the past 10 or 15 years in terms of interest, but we're now also looking at concussions in motor vehicle crashes, work-related, school concussions, intimate partner violence, falls in the elderly. We need to thank our major donors and facilitators of our center. Just to remind you of our concussion chair funded by the Solway family, the MEG unit funded by Mitchell Goldhar, the Fidani family has come on board to fund some of our recent recruits of a nurse practitioner and a brain donation coordinator for our brain bank. Also, thank you to people like Leo Ezrins, who's been a cheerleader for us, and Dr. Hugh Scully as well, who introduced us to LIUNA. And LIUNA has been a very important part of our outreach, especially outreach to patients and caregivers through our bi-monthly session, our webinar series for persisting concussion symptoms. For this particular symposium, we've been assisted again by the NHL, the NHLPA, Ontario Brain Institute in brackets, because I'm not sure whether we're going to be supported this year. Mojgan is shaking her head. And the CFL is a big supporter of us. And of course, LIUNA, and the microphone is now back. And we have a number of research grants, and one of the grants that we're particularly working on right now is the WSIB grant on return to work. People that helped make this symposium happen are the two program chairs who will be handling this morning and this afternoon sessions, Carmela Tartaglia and Robin Green, Mojgan, our coordinator who has worked so hard to put it together, Kim Hussey and Christian Peterson and their team, and people in our patient research team have also helped put this together, especially Frankie White. So why are we doing all of this effort for concussion? And that is because it's so bloody common. 400,000 in our country each year. That's the best estimate that we have. Can you imagine that? That means that 1% of Canadians every year are getting concussed. It's a huge problem. And the other major issue is that it does affect people of all ages. So the young people are getting their concussions in sports and recreation, and the old folks are falling. And so the whole spectrum of Canadians are involved. Motor vehicle crashes has been a significant issue with us. And because recovery is often incomplete, we're adding to the number of Canadians who are continuing to suffer because not everybody is getting better, as we have learned. And the management has changed somewhat, but it's still necessary for medical doctors and nurses to make the diagnosis in most of our country. However, the team of people certainly goes well beyond the medical profession, and that has really been an important learning for all of us, that it's a team of healthcare professionals, multidisciplinary, but it has to be individualized. And just to remind you of the concussion spectrum, that it has acute aspects to it, some not so happy, like what happened to Rowan Stringer, and it has the less acute but persisting symptoms that affect so many. And then in the chronic stage, the few, and fortunately what we've learned over the years, that it is only a few that get long-term disability from something like chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And this is a wonderful slide. You won't be able to read it all, but this dizzying array of what happens to individual patients after a concussion was put together by our colleague Hannah Ritter in Copenhagen, who heard about our work in concussion and our interest in getting people back to work, for example. And she showed in this wonderful slide the dizzying pathway that many people have to follow in order to get proper treatment, and some literally never get it. And that's something that we're working hard to correct. And I see Judy Gregaro in the audience, and certainly she's obsessed with this issue 24/7. So glad you're here, Judy. And this is important for not only return to work, but for return to life, return to play, return to school, etc. And we want to prevent people from getting lost in the healthcare system. And these are the accomplishments of our center in the last 10 or 15 years. So this is our 10th symposium. Between Carmela and me, we've seen about 1,200 patients since we started, and they're all in our data bank. And we've collected about $10 million, which I think is a pretty good sum for concussion to devote to research and improved care. We have many educational programs, as I mentioned, not just for practitioners, but for lawyers. And I think it's very important to bring other people on, for adjusters, for insurance companies to find out about what their effects are on the concussed population. So we can do better, and hopefully today will be an opportunity for many of us to learn how to do better for our patients. So I hope you enjoy the symposium as much as I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to call upon this morning's chair, Dr. Carmela Tartaglia, who is a neurologist at the center. She's co-director of the Canadian Concussion Center, and she has made a huge contribution in terms of research and patient care to the concussion world. And we're very happy that she chose Toronto for her burgeoning career. So Carmela, please come and take over for this morning.